Hello again, Sandwich. I'm Greg Anderson via Zoom, though I'm still sitting here in our studio, which is fantastic, always homey and comfortable and warm. Thank you again for joining us as we talk to candidates that are running for office. We're in particular focused on candidates who are running in contested races. Right now, there are 3 people that are running for school committee with 2 seats open. And one of those 3 is here today with me, Christine Brown. Welcome, Christine. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me this chance to talk about what I believe in and why I'm running for school committee.
Excellent. Well, I will tell you, we are on Zoom right now because you got hit with COVID.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd be sitting to my left. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling much better. Thank you. Thank you. It was
Good.
a tough run, but glad it's on its way out.
Yeah, good. So from my research, you are a longtime participant in town, parent, school psychologist, volunteer. But for those of you who don't know you, give me a deeper perspective. Who is Christine Brown?
Sure. Um, Again, I'm all those things. A wife, a mother, school psychologist, a volunteer. Kind of gained the nickname with some friends of Helium Hand, where if there's something to do, I will raise my hand and put myself forward to do it. Not afraid of getting my hands dirty and doing the uncomfortable jobs to make things good for our community. Um, really been grateful since we moved here 22 years ago to be able to kind of jump into a variety of different things. My degrees and my focus has really been around children and education. Um, so that's really where I've kind of put my foot forward in terms of trying to improve our community or trying to help our community through my volunteer opportunities. So I've done a lot between PTAs and being a library trustee and doing all kinds of school related volunteering. I've
Yeah.
been a big supporter of public education.
So what motivates you to run for office? You know, this kind of brings you out of the role of all that we've described you as and what you have done, wonderful things that you've done, but it kind of puts you now in that formal, people are going to watch what you're saying, people are going to be reacting to what you're saying. And we know that we live in a very divisive culture right now where one opinion, maybe your heartfelt opinion, but it does not resonate. How are you seeing yourself in that new role?
Yeah, it's been a lot more than I bargained for. Again, after running for library trustee for several years, it was an easy get your 50 signatures, put your name on the ballot, and you're good to go. Get sworn in. This has been trial by fire of really jumping into something that was kind of contested and a little bit. It's a pretty strong race in terms of the candidates who are running and with some very different views. So that is a reason that I chose to run. I heard some other candidates using terms, kind of coded terms like parental rights and common sense platforms, which in and of themselves sound very innocent and positive, but have some underlying meanings that I don't think are best for our community, are best for our kids, are best for our teachers.
So explain that. Give me a deeper perspective on why it's not good. Explain that a little bit more.
Sure. I think we've seen in other parts of the country how the concept of parental rights has really morphed into things like um, controlling curriculum day to day and having teachers submit lesson plans a year in advance, and all these kind of ill-founded and ill-advised methods for feeling like you have control or understanding of what's going on in a classroom, but really not understanding how education works.
Mhm.
Teachers don't plan a year in advance. Teachers don't, they plan day to day. They plan week to week because they need to reflect and they need to respond to what the kids in front of them are needing and doing at that time. So, that's one example of the parental rights piece, banning books, um, presenting different kinds of families and different kinds of people and representing and supporting all kinds of needs of all of our students. and objecting to that. Those are the kinds of things that I've seen under the guise of parental rights that I think are very, very negative, caustic, harmful approaches.
So I've wanted to ask you this, as it relates to masks. Clearly, the mask mandate is just, I mean, it still is white hot in people's minds. Do you think that people will vote on whether or not you support a mask mandate or not?
I sure hope not, because it's so irrelevant at this point. I think what's more relevant is kind of the character behind that mask debate. Um,
Tell me more about that. What do you mean?
Again, I believe that wearing masks was a civic responsibility. It's something we did as a community to protect our most vulnerable and to protect people that we didn't know, that you had no idea about, what circumstances they were living under, what circumstances, what risks they were at. So I think the objection to protecting a community, above your personal comfort was not a good sign of character.
So I love how you're saying what you're saying. You're being very diplomatic, but people were nasty.
Yeah.
You know, and I did read a Facebook post of yours that really, you know, talked about how you are not about shaming people, and it is not about. In fact, I have not shamed others for their choices. I have not posted or shared false or misleading information that serves to put our most vulnerable populations at risk. I have not wasted the precious time or financial resources of our schools by repeatedly complaining to, harassing, or suing them. That's you got a pretty strong opinion about that subset of people. Those people still exist. How much are they going to be involved in setting the course for the future?
They are part of our society and part of our community as well. So I think education and transparency are important, but honest transparency, I think, helping. This is a tough one, about the right way to talk about this.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not an easy. It's not an.
it's not an easy one, no. But again, I think again, in terms of being a member of the school committee, there are only certain things that I can do, that a school committee member can do, and certain roles that we serve.
Yeah,
Um, and I'm not sure how much we can change, political opinion,
yeah.
but I think if we kind of go forward apolitically, and I don't believe it should be a political race at all, but going forward apolitically, and as I said, just coming forth with people who represent and have good character, who have done well for the community, and who support public education is the best thing that we can do.
Let's talk about diversity. You have a certificate in diversity, equity, and inclusion. What is your assessment of that committee here in town, and what involvement would you have going forward on the school committee?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I know that Christy Bader, one of the departing school committee members, was a member of that committee, and now would be an opening for, on school committee for a representative to that committee, and that would be something I would definitely be interested in supporting. Um, I think that diversity, equity, and inclusion is not an exclusive issue to Sandwich Public Schools, to the town of Sandwich, to the state of Massachusetts, to New England. It's a universal, concern. It's an area where we're all growing. And I think there's a lot to learn. You know, as a 54-year-old woman, I learn more and more every day about things that, um, that we all need to know about. I'm grateful um, for the knowledge that came from taking that course in diversity and inclusion, and I think it's worth exploring for everyone. It's hard work. It's uncomfortable work. It doesn't set well with everyone all the time, but as long as people can kind of depersonalize and realize it doesn't come from a place of blame or a place of, um, pitting one group against another, that it's all about reflecting and supporting the needs of everyone. I think that it's a positive mission. I think you'd get more people on board with it.
So we have this incident that happened in February, and clearly it's resonating. I think it's even a news story that's being picked up outside of Massachusetts. I think even somewhere in Europe picked it up on a news thing. I mean, it has all of the ingredients of race, bullying, diversity, all of those things. You're not on the school committee during this time. I don't want to put you into assessing that, but can you give me a sense as to how that incident can inform the community in whatever way you feel it needs to be informed?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest messages, again, I can't comment directly on the case. I don't know the specifics. I certainly have only heard, what Ross has publicized in terms of his side of the story. Um, but what we can learn from what he has said is a very important role is that kids are not necessarily comfortable sharing or knowing who to go to or how to report situations like bullying, racial bullying, cyberbullying. I think there's a certain level of complacency around this is just something I need to endure. And just because we give a presentation or present the facade that we'll listen to anything you say or we have a counselor in place, that doesn't always make it comfortable for every child to step forward. You think about survivors of sexual assault who don't step forward for a variety of reasons. So we've got full grown adults who are not in a position, who know that it's not right, who know that it's there are channels to use, but they can't step forward. So it's somehow finding a way to reach our more vulnerable students, and providing a variety of different channels for them to be able to report instances of things like racism, sexism, sexual harassment, um, all that kind of discrimination. So I think that that is very important. Again, I agree. It's tough for someone to do something about something that they don't know about,
Mhm.
but trying to be able to find a way and trying to maybe be sure that we have channels and connections with all students so that they have someone they feel safe reporting to and talking to.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the curriculum. What areas of the school's curriculum, and this is a broad multi-grade question, but where do you put your attention? What's the shiny object that gets your attention if you were to be on the school board looking at the curriculum?
So again, I can't speak specifically to what the elementary curriculum is like or the statistics at this point. There's a lot of there's a big learning curve and learning all the nuances. But as a school psychologist in general, not only because of COVID, but because of kids in general, I'm really concerned about kids learning to read early. So that early intensive reading intervention, I think, is important for kids. All kids should be able to read, so the more we can do early on to be able to provide those services. Also concerned just generally because of COVID about learning gaps. That the pandemic kind of treated different kids in different circumstances differently. And there were some students that thrived. I had my daughter who was a senior in high school and my son who was a senior in college at the time. They did great virtually. That kind of suited their own personalities. But I also know, again, from working in schools, there were kids we lost and couldn't get to, who
Yeah.
we didn't see for days and weeks and months at a time. And those were the kids who probably were more vulnerable in the first place and then become more vulnerable now. So
So
that
do
kind
you have a leg up being a psychologist, sitting on the school committee, um, with that learning gap issue?
Well, not with necessarily with that issue, but certainly just I think I have an advantage being a school psychologist, knowing how schools work from the inside out.
Hmm.
Schools are different. They're not a regular business. There's a lot of little nuances. There's a lot of stuff that's very different from a regular workplace. Um, so I think I have that good perspective of understanding the kind of the stress and intensity that it takes to be that teachers paraprofessionals, secretaries, nurses, special educators, therapists, counselors. They're all under tremendous stress for a variety of reasons, and being kind of pulled at all different areas, so all different ways. So kind of understanding what it's like for that group of people, knowing what it's like for a parent. My kids went through sandwich schools, kindergarten through 12th grade. Um, Kind of getting all the perspectives. I'm a member of community. I pay taxes. So all those pieces, I kind of understand um, all those different pieces that make up a school system.
We have a new superintendent about to come on board. Superintendent to be Joe Maruschek. He is picking up where Pam Gould is leaving off. What do you feel his priorities should be as he steps into this new role for him?
Well, it'll sound cliche, but obviously he has huge shoes to fill. I think Dr. Gould has done a lot in terms of building good bridges with other with town departments in terms of budget building and making it a integral part of the town. She has also built good relationships with staff, and brought in good administrators to really kind of make the morale, I understand, from in certain buildings improve. So she's done a lot in terms of just overall making the relationship with the town a positive one. So I think that's an important part for Dr. Maruschek. I also think listening is probably his biggest task. You certainly want someone to come in with drive and motivation, but there's a lot that happens in Sandwich already that he should kind of sit back and take in, which I'm sure he's kind of invested in some of that already. And really involving people in decision making, I think, is important, as opposed to coming through with one specific agenda and driving it without the support of in town. It's a hard town to make changes in. So
yeah, there yeah, there you go. Let's underline that. Christine, if I'm standing in the poll and I got my pen and I got my ballot in front of me and I see your name and I stand there hovering over that, give me something in my mind that myself, voters, you would want them to think as a reason to vote for you?
So again, I for a living, I listen. I try to figure out what's going on. I try to get to the root of what's going on, and make a good solution for all parties. I think that's one of the things that makes me a good candidate. My knowledge and relationship. I have positive relationships with a lot of people in the community. And the biggest thing is that I do support public education. I support our teachers. I'm grateful my kids had phenomenal teachers going through. My 23-year-old still will come home from college and have a beer with one of his teachers and talk about life and how things are going. There's some great humans that run our schools right now. And I think that's what I will support.
All right. Excellent. Christine, thank you so much for your time. Nice job. This is not always easy. You never know what Greg's going to ask, but I appreciate your opinion and your time this morning.
Thank you.
All right. So our goal at Sandwich Community Television is really to bring as much information as we can. We want to go straight to those who are running and help our community really understand what it is they have before them as opportunity to vote for one person or another. So thank you to Sandwich Community Television, of course, our partners at the Sandwich Enterprise who are helping pull all of this campaign coverage together. I'm Greg Anderson. Make sure you vote Thursday, May 5th. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you.